When kids don't know how to process emotions, they're going to express them through meltdowns, yelling, frustration, and shutting down. But don't worry, I'm going to share ways for you to help your child handle emotions in a healthier way so they don't get so frustrated and upset, and neither will you. So, what is emotional regulation? It's something you're hearing a lot about, especially if you're following me. And make sure you're subscribing to this channel, this podcast, if you're not already, so that you can get all these actionable tips that I feel so proud in sharing. You're getting 30 years of expertise to make your life as a parent easier. And our job as parents is to create self regulated, independent beings. And it's hard in today's day. So I want to share with you all the ways that I've been able to help some of the most complex cases. What is emotional regulation? It's that ability to recognize, understand, and manage uncomfortable sensations, thoughts, and feelings. We're not born with it, despite what you think, despite what your parents told you or your grandparents told you. And it develops over time. They learn primarily how to regulate from us and their caregivers. And that includes teachers too. They're really important human beings, and teachers do a great job. Like, let's say 90% of teachers are the shizzle. They're amazing. You can all think of one teacher that, like, really impacted you in some way, shape, or form. And, teachers have a lot on their plates. Emotional intelligence is the single greatest predictor of lifelong success, right? We all somehow are pushing towards grades, but it's emotional intelligence that is that definer, right? Because without it, we have relationship problems. That's going to show up at work. It's going to show up in relationships. You're going to have self esteem issues. Without it, people tend to have more mental health issues. So, again, learn skill, never too late. We can all do this, right? It becomes harder as kids get older or become young adults, honestly, because they have shame and they've upset and they have all these feelings around it of resistance to change. Again, never too late to start. This is day one. You're going to take action. So, how do we foster emotional growth through words? I'm going to walk you through some of the most common scenarios and what to say, because honestly, this is what I do all the time. Number one, we're going to teach our kids to name their feelings. I know you're thinking you do, but I'm telling you, you don't, because most of the time, people don't. You're going to name it to tame it, right? Kids can't regulate emotions they don't understand, right? They'll gravitate towards one, right? Anger, upset, sadness. When you really help kids name emotions, right, it is really helpful. What are common ways that we help our kids emotionally develop? So instead of saying things like stop crying, heard that a lot, especially when you go to like Disney. You can say, "I see you're feeling frustrated. That's okay. It's a big feeling." So you're helping them to understand and talk about it without feeling negative. When this is new to you and you're not a family that, uses a lot of emotional language, and most don't, peeps, okay? So I don't want you to feel bad. You can use emotion charts that show different faces. That's why teachers have it in the primary classes, because the kids don't have the words. It's just that we think as you get older, they're just going to instantly absorb it, but they're not. You might need to be explicit. You can use feeling thermometers and really help your kids to not just learn the words, but understand what they are and how to differentiate between them. So it might be a shift in your family, and that's okay, because you're creating beautiful change, not just for your child, but those future generations. You're going to validate emotions even if you don't agree. Validation does not mean you agree with their behavior or the way they're acting. It just means you're acknowledging their experience. And what is the number one thing therapists do when people come to you? Validate their experience. So we all want validation. We all want to feel heard. And just feeling heard can make a huge shift. Instead of saying, like, don't be upset, you can say, I see this feels big for you, or this is hard. And it's okay to be upset. We want to let them know we're not going to let them live there, people. You're just validating. Strategies to problem solve outside of that is different. This is really building those emotional words that's going to really be a bridge for you and your child behind their dysregulation, maybe behind your own dysregulation, because more and more of you are talking to me about your own dysregulation. I mean, parents are at a crisis level. We're going to reframe negative self talk. So we have a tendency to be very negative in general, right? Oh, I'm never going to get there on time. Oh, that was the dumbest thing I ever did. And we just say these things out loud, and our kids are like, wow, that's how I should process information. If you hear your kid saying, I'm not going to be good at that or bad at that, what you can say is, we're all learning, and that's okay. And, or we all make mistakes, and that's how we learn, right? So we have to be more cognizant of how we are talking out loud. And in fact, should bring some of these things out loud, but obviously reframe that negative self talk. And I promise you, just for yourself, you're going to feel better. So many of you were raised in such a negative environment. I don't think I even understood that until I was probably in my 40s, and I joined this group where there's all these people like me who are working to change health, and how many of them were just told negative things and how much it stuck with them. So you can shift that. Number 3, you want to teach pause and break strategies. You don't want to say calm down. But what you can say is things like, let's pause, breathe, and then talk, right? So you're cueing them to, okay, I've got to regulate myself and pause. You can use hand signals. You've already pre worked out with your child or teenager that says, I need help calming down, or I need a reset. I like to say a reset because calming down sort of has this negative connotation, or calming our body, right? That's not, the kids feel good about that. I want to calm my brain down. I'm going to calm my body. You really want to build emotional intelligence through everyday conversations. When you're waiting for the big thing to happen, your kid's going to be too dysregulated to absorb. It's actually these micro moments that create massive change, right? This is a big part of my book, you all. You're hearing that now, but because we need we need these little things, right? You want to ask thoughtful questions throughout, when you pick up your kid, don't be like, how's school? You could say like, oh, tell me about anybody you helped today, right? You're starting them to get them to think, oh, there's more besides me. Or when did you feel proud today? When you're starting this, you're going to have to start too, and you're going to have to model because they're going to have a hard time. But you really want to model your own self regulation, verbalize how you are handling problems so they start getting an understanding, encourage problem solving, not just fixing. Right? How can we really think about how to solve this problem? Because that's where kids are really getting stuck today. Is they're, I can't do this. I need help. Right? Oh, no, 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 no. That's normal for you not to be able to do that. Let's think about how we could do that, right? So what do you do when your child is overwhelmed, right? You really want to take those 3 steps. You want to pause, you want to breathe, and then you take action, right? If you're not pausing and breathing, it's just you're dysregulated, they're dysregulated, and really think about that. Helping kids regulate emotions is not about controlling them. It's about giving them the tools so that they can recognize and process and deal with emotions on their own. It doesn't mean they're not going to ask you for help, but you can't be their only solution. You can't be the life preserver all the time. They have the ability to be their own life preserver. And it starts with everyday emotional conversations. And I hope you're inspired to add some of these to your everyday. If you need more help in bringing calm into your home, you can go to drroseann.com/quick calm. It's our 7-day program that really helps you to bring more calm in just 7 days into your house.